Hi, I'm Feroz Khan, and welcome to Drag and Drop Low Code Unplugged, the podcast where we explore the game changing impact of low code in software development. Join me in insightful conversations with IT leaders and passionate low code enthusiasts who are at the forefront of this digital evolution. Together, we'll explore how early adoption of low code is giving businesses a competitive edge on a global scale. We'll discuss its impact on software development, dissect its role in transforming businesses, and uncover the ways in which it's reshaping career trajectories. So whether you're a seasoned IT professional or a curious enthusiast, be sure to tune in as we share success stories and unravel the mysteries of low code. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a front row seat to the revolution that's shaping the future of technology. So let's go. Hi Hamza, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks. How are you doing, Feroz?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to be a guest on our podcast.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me and looking forward to engaging discussion.
Amazing, amazing. Before we kind of get into it, it'd be nice to kind of for you to give a bit of a introduction to yourself, who you are, where you're from, a bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So I'm a industrial engineer by qualification. That was my undergrad, and my first 1 or 2 years was spent crawling around in real heavy industrial environments and factories. And I quickly realized that that's not the place I wanted to be in. Yeah, and I was lucky enough to then make a break into management consulting with Accenture, where I got into the graduate program, and I ended up going on to one of the modernization projects at one of the large government agencies here in South Africa. And that's where I got into modernization and digitalization and playing different roles all the way from, UAT analyst to business analyst to system designer and ultimately modernization strategist. And after a while at Accenture here in South Africa, I got to move overseas to Accenture New Zealand, where I got to play a role with a big government entity there. And then for family reasons, I came back to South Africa, and I was lucky enough to join Al Baraka Bank as a software development manager. And I worked my way up from there to be where I am now as the general manager for digitalization for the bank, and we are now look after digitalization as a division and also as a program of work for the organization.
Amazing. And could you tell us a bit about the business and its activities?
Yeah. So Al Baraka is a full service bank. Anything that you can do at one of the commercial banks in South Africa, you could probably do it at Al Baraka. So we've got a full suite of products. The key difference is that the underlying structures behind our products are obviously all compliant with the Islamic Sharia law. The word Sharia law is a little bit of a repetition because Sharia literally means law. Um, what that really means is that in Islamic law there are principles for how to do business, and these principles are aligned to protecting all parties in a transaction, be it the investor, be it the borrower, etc., etc., etc. So all of our contracts and the way that our deals are set up have to be scrutinized by a Sharia board to make sure that they agree with these principles. And these principles are voluminous. So Islamic law has been evolving over the last 1400 years or so. And there's libraries and libraries of manuscripts, so it's a real science in and of its own right. And so these highly expert scholars look through the way that the products are set up, and they make sure that there's no contravention. A simple example might be a home loan, right? Many people are familiar with the conventional concept of a home loan.
Yeah.
You go to a bank, you borrow X amount of money. The property that you are buying is collateral. You are then indebted to the bank for an amount of money, And if you are unable to make those payments, you then start incurring interest. You could also
Mm,
incur interest on the interest, which compounds. And if you had to foreclose, you lose the property and you also lose whatever you paid. And it really sucks for the
yeah, it
owner,
does.
right?
Yeah.
Now, Islamic home financing is really different. Islamic home financing is based on the principle of partnership. So the one of the ways it's structured is where the bank buys this property and then the bank sells you a portion of that property year on year for a pre-agreed rate at an installment rate. So over time, you build up your equity in that property. But if at any point you are unable to pay, the bank has no recourse to start charging you some sort of a interest or even a compound interest on interest. So you cannot sink into some sort of a black hole like you
Yeah.
would with conventional finance. And if for whatever reason you're unable to honor your obligations and you have to go foreclose that deal, well, then it's a simple termination of a partnership. The property will be sold, the bank will get paid out its share, you will get paid out your share for what you've invested in over time, and you walk away and no one's a loser.
Mm.
So it's really geared towards ensuring fairness and transparency for all parties involved.
I guess it also gives the individual or family a bit of peace of mind and less stress to help sleep at night
Yeah,
if there is struggles.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So one of the key principles is avoidance of uncertainty, right? So in conventional financing, you're at the mercy of exchange rates or rather interest rates as set by the central banks, etc. With with Islamic finance, the deal is structured such that you have certainty about what is it that you're going to be paying for a forecasted period of time. So you don't have that stress that, oh, okay, what if tomorrow the central bank raises rates? How I'm going to afford my property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. And I'm guessing like obviously, all these required projects and you've got the team behind it to do it. At what point did you realize, you needed to change the way things were going? And obviously you're using low code and we'll get onto that in a minute. But at what point did you decide it was something that you guys needed to look to and change the processes and the platform?
Yeah. So it was very early on when I joined the bank. Um, at that point, the bank pretty much didn't have a fully fledged development capability. And it didn't have, a, a pipeline of development work that needed to be
Mm,
completed. It was ad hoc. If somebody needed something, it would get developed, and then it would be a one and done type of thing.
mm,
And that sort of first led me to think about, okay, how do we develop our own capability to start
mm,
actually pushing out as if we were a development factory ourselves? And when I considered that question, I looked around at the conventional pro code solutions that most organizations were
mm.
adopting. And I looked at the operational overhead that came with those solutions, right? Because, with pro code, you obviously need a lot of tooling,
Yeah.
you need a lot of, continuous integration, CI/CD, pipelines, repositories, source code reviews, and the list just went on and on and on. And I said, look, if I'm going to try and build up this big architecture from scratch, it's going to take me forever and a day.
Yeah.
And to, accumulate all of those skills within a team is also going to take me a long time.
Mm,
And so I said, okay, well, let me research. I'm sure somebody else has faced this problem before, and let's see, what's come up in the market. And that's when I discovered that, okay, there's this thing called Pro Code. I mean, low code, sorry, and they look to abstract organizations from having to manage all of that complexity. And they also look to speed up the time it takes to develop something, which was
mm,
important for us because we were trying to catch up. Um, and moreover, they offer you a full bundle in that they have these really well-defined and architected learning paths. So for you to build up skills in them is quite easy. You don't have to go and learn 1,000 different tools and
Mm.
one language for the front end, one language for the logic layer, one language for the database, quite simple. And I said, okay, cool. This seems to be something I can use to leapfrog other organizations that are
Mm.
still in the pro code paradigm and maybe get us to a place of advantage.
And when
Uh,
you discovered low code,
mm,
did you just obviously use Mendix, and we're going to talk about Mendix, but
yeah.
did you fall upon Mendix first, or how was that kind of process? Did you look at a few platforms?
Yeah, we did look at a few platforms. We looked at so so I like to think of low code within three different or maybe four different spheres, right?
Mm.
I look at low code for external use, meaning B2C for
Yep.
businesses to connect with their customers. And within that space, I sort of picked up between Mendix and OutSystems as being
Yep.
the two leaders on Gartner's quadrant.
Yep.
And we evaluated both extensively.
Mm.
And then there's also the business to employee space or the internal space.
Mm.
And within that space, we evaluated the Microsoft Power Platform, and that seemed to be, the natural no-brainer because we
Yep.
we were already a Microsoft shop. And then there's the process automation space where there's a few different flavors and they solve the
Mm.
problem differently. So you might
Mm.
have something like a Pega
Yep.
for process automation, but you might also have something like a UiPath for robotic
Yep.
process automation, both of which can solve similar problems but in very different ways.
Mm.
And so for me, it wasn't, when I talk about low code, it's not just a blanket term. For
Yeah,
me, it's
sure.
courses for courses. There's low code for this and low code for
Mm.
that. And I needed to understand the full spectrum and how to
Sure.
apply the different areas. Yeah.
Mm. And what you mentioned about obviously the B2C side where you looked at Mendix and OutSystems, what was it that made you sway towards Mendix in that decision process?
Yeah. So I think ultimately it was the culture of collaboration and engagement from right through the entire Mendix leadership. The commitment that they showed to making a really valuable, meaningful deal happen was just unparalleled. They came to the party,
Mm.
whatever support we needed in that decision-making process, they bent over backwards to help us with that. And that attitude, even now, 4 years down the line, has if anything, it's even intensified
Mm.
as we've worked together, us and the Mendix team. Um, you know, we see each other as partners, really.
Mm.
And testament to that is very recently I said to the Mendix guys, listen, at the moment we don't have a Mendix cloud node here in South Africa. We're running off island and the latency is affecting our performance. And even though they didn't yet at that point have enough customers in the region to stand up a node here for it to make
Mm.
economical sense, but their commitment to this partnership was so great that they said, okay, Hamza, we hear you, give us some time and we'll do something. And 6 months later, they had a node stood up in the AWS region here in
No.
Johannesburg, and we could migrate our apps. So yeah, that customer centricity, that commitment to the customer exceeding is just phenomenal on the Mendix side. And yeah, it's something that's really stood the test of time as well.
And can you talk us through, what projects you're doing with Mendix, what you've kind of done so far and what's kind of in the pipeline?
Yeah. So we've got two major platforms that we've built on Mendix. One is our loan application portal, right? And that covers us for various different types of loans like home loans and car loans.
Mm.
And that's quite a big intensive application because on the front of it, it allows a customer to come in and do his app, but then it's got really long processing behind it to cater for the middle office and the back office and the credit vetting. and creation of documents and workflows and managing this deal. It's a full end-to-end
Mm.
process, not just a front-end portal.
Yeah.
And we're looking at now perhaps how do we build that up further for newer products. So soon we plan to launch a credit card, and how do we bring that credit card application onto that portal, and so on and so forth. So that's the one. And we like to think of that as the place where our prospects go
Mm.
to do something which would then make them into a customer, right? Then for customers, we've got our second major Mendix application, which comprises a web app and a mobile banking app, right? So you, Feroz, you've got in one portal, you've got everything that you could do with our bank. You can do your transactional banking or checking banking, you might call it that.
Yeah.
Of the same app, you can manage your investments. Of the same app, you can manage your finance deals with us. So it's like a app, but that's a super app because within it, you can go into this transactional banking app or into this mini investments app or into this finance app. And we very recently launched corporate banking on it. So
Mm.
if you, Feroz, you've got corporate banking for your business, you've got check banking for your own salary account, no need for you to have two apps and two different logins. You've
Mm.
got one app in there, you choose, okay, I'm transacting as Feroz, or okay, I'm transacting as my business,
Mm.
and off you go. We've also really thought about the way our customer base does a lot of the management of finances. So traditionally, in our community, you might find a dad managing the finances of his children, and
Mm.
also, his parents if they might be of
Yeah.
age, etc., etc. So we've built in very strong linking capability. So you could come in and request to link yourself to your children's accounts, your wife's account. Obviously, there's very strong governance procedures and
Mm.
processes to make sure that there's no fraud there. But you could then come in and change that context as well. So again, one app, you can manage everything about yourself and everything about your family if you need to, and your business and all of it. And that's been a very strong design principle, which is now guiding us into how we build this further. So next up, we're looking at how do we bring trade finance into this app? How do we bring international payments for customers that are importers? How do we bring things like your value-added services, so ability to purchase airtime, electricity vouchers,
Mm.
and on and on and on.
Nice. That's really cool. That's really interesting, actually. And you mentioned the beginning, obviously, you see low code in kind of three little boxes, and
Mm.
when you were kind of considering, you were looking into, okay, what can we do to kind of get ahead, and that's what pushed you towards low code. Now that you've been using it for a while, do you feel it was the right choice? It's giving you that edge, and definitely there's no regrets on that side.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So for a number of reasons, number one, the speed with which, excuse me, we're able to release, we're able to get out a new production app, um, maybe monthly or every 2 months. I don't see many other banks doing that. And that talks to how fast we're able to build new features.
Mm.
And Mendix with their visual modeling system really makes that quite fast. Uh, One of the other major benefits we've seen is that you're able to very quickly identify where uh, app app components are shared between various features. And that makes it a lot easier to prevent regression up front because you can find something that's shared. If you change it, what's going to be the ripple impact on it. And it's helped us to avoid having too many bugs out there in production, which obviously would hamper us. What's also been very favorable for us is that even though we've had developers come and leave because of natural career progression, etc.,
Mm.
because of this very visual, easily understood programming interface, the ramp up times when new developers roll onto the project is, minimal. The guys just come in, they look at this code in the form of a process flow diagram, makes immediate sense to them, and they can start adding value very rapidly. Um, what we've also seen is that it's really brought business and development together, literally onto the same page,
Yeah.
because of this low code modeling studio where logic is represented as a flow chart, and we can very quickly pull in, for example, the COO and say, hey, we need a business decision because your business decision is impacting this specific if decision on our flow chart. And he's very quickly able to understand why we're asking what we're asking and how he needs to make his decision. Versus, in the old context where you've got thousands of lines of code, and you try calling an exec into a meeting and you bring up a screen and you're showing him code and you're trying to relate to him why
Yeah.
what you're asking
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's going to be a couple of hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. So yeah, so no regrets. We've seen how low code enables you to work off a very small operational footprint. We don't need to have a dedicated DevOps team, for example,
Mm.
to look after deployments and patching and migration, etc. A lot of these things just get handled in the platforms. A lot of it is one-click deploy. Um, yeah, I could go on,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
ultimately no regrets. Yeah.
Yeah. And prior to kind of going down the low code direction, did you have existing developers that were working for your team, kind of traditional based pro code developers?
Yeah, we did have quite a few C Sharp
Yeah.
.NET developers building out a few
And,
solutions.
and how was their kind of, obviously, obviously you've gone and now found low code, and obviously
Mm,
individuals are always interested in their career path, and
yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah,
they've worked 5, 6 years in whatever
yeah,
skill set and
yeah.
technology. How was that kind of process of telling them, okay, now we're going to go into this low code direction, and what was their reaction? Like, were they willing to get on board, or was there some pushback on it? Because a big thing is, in traditional, there's a lot of skeptics of low code still today,
Mm,
and I'm
yeah,
interested to see how you kind of dealt with that within your team.
yeah. So you're 100% right. We did have reluctance, especially when we announced that we're going for Mendix instead of OutSystems. OutSystems, the code compiles down to C# .NET code, and our .NET developers were kind of comfortable because they said, listen,
Mm,
even though we might be giving up some control because we're modeling inside this
yeah,
OutSystem studio, ultimately because it's compiling down to C# .NET, if we need to configure the code, etc., we
yeah,
still have some ability there.
mm,
Mendix does things a little bit differently. With Mendix, your application builds out into a Mendix model, and that model is not, for all intents and purposes, human customizable. So you can't go after the fact and try and edit it. And that model then gets run inside of a Mendix interpreter, which in turn runs on a Java machine, if I've understood it or remember it correctly. So the first point of reluctance was, hey, you know what? If the code is going to be interpreted before it's even run, it's going to give us some performance degradation. The apps are going to be slow to run. That was the first point. The other was obviously the reluctance to give up that control from being able to write the code and being forced to do drag and drop stuff.
mm,
Um, what we did is we put our existing developers onto the project with developers from Mendix Expert Services
yeah,
and with our Mendix development partner, Avertra, who Mendix had brought on to the project as well. Um, and our hope was that our developers would, after a while of working with the technology, come to like it and see the
mm,
benefit of it. But unfortunately, that didn't really play out for us. And those developers have since left the organization, and I
mm,
think they're working now more on the pro code side where they
focus,
were more comfortable. Yeah. Ultimately, though, I think it's not a sad story,
yeah,
so
yeah,
to
of
speak.
course,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's. I think the organization has moved in a direction that
yeah,
benefited it, and those individuals are able to move a direction that they were happy with,
yeah.
and so it's still sort of win-win at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned obviously, you use kind of few low-code platforms for different things. I'm interested
Mm.
to know, you've obviously got people now who are working on the platform. Have you kind of, with your kind of hiring side, have you focused on developers who can understand all those platforms, or have you kind of gone with specialists in Mendix, people who really understand Power Apps, people who really understand Pega or UiPath?
Yeah, so that's actually a problem I've been grappling with a little bit because on the one hand, it makes sense to have specialists because then
Mm,
you've got people who can be deep and focused and
yeah,
really get to that level of expertise. Malcolm Gladwell and his tipping point argument that you need to spend 20,000 hours doing something to really,
yeah,
really master it. So there's that argument on the one hand.
mm,
On the other hand, you also want to try and get people uh, uh, to help cover your key man dependency risk, right? So,
yeah,
and especially in our case where we are forced to keep our headcount small, it's a little bit difficult to then stand up big teams within each
yeah,
domain. Yeah. But I think what we've done as a way of trying to resolve that conundrum is we've got specialists who focus on a specific area. So we've got UiPath developers and we've got Power Platform developers.
mm,
And then to manage the key man dependency risk, we adopt a hybrid sourcing model in that we don't just have our own developers, but we also go and get an external dev partner
yeah.
within that team. So that for whatever reason, if our internal developers are unable to support us, we've got a dev partner that we can fall back on.
You can lean on them. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So ultimately, we decided not to cross skill internally.
mm,
Let people specialize, go deep,
yeah.
and get the skill, but manage key man dependency risk by using a partner as well.
Nice, nice, very interesting. And in the time that you've been now using Mendix, and the technology is forever evolving, and new features are coming out. What are some of the kind of features within the platform that you've been quite really impressed with, that has really obviously helped your project?
Mhm. Um, sure, there's a number of them. Look, it's what I really like. Number one is the ability to reuse code. Uh, the reusability between mobile app and web was a real victory for us because we didn't have to invest in a lot of rewrite of logic
Mm,
and retesting of logic. That was one. The other was that because on Mendix Mobile, it 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 boils down to React Native. That then means we can build once and deploy both to iOS and Android without having to build separate apps independently. And that for us saved us a lot of time because again, we're a small team.
mm,
Um, what I alluded to earlier, the ability to find usages. So literally you can click on a field and find usages and it'll give you the 100 different places that this database field is used for. And it allows you to really make very calculated decisions about the impact of a change. Um, what I really like also is the Mendix platform that we use to manage code, deploy code, and run code. The visibility and the transparency into what's going on there is really powerful. Um, the really strong logging, for example, it allows us to very quickly see where issues are stemming from and to get on those and fix them very fast. And why that's important is because nowadays you might have heard of the phrase ship and then shape,
yep.
which means you want to get to market fast and you want to use the market to help prove your solution. And the ability to then have that transparency really enables us to play that shipping and shaping game in a very proficient manner. So that's been good for us. Um, Also on the planning side, so with Mendix, you have one platform where you can set up all of your stories, your user stories into sprints, into epics, really aligned to the whole Scrum process. And your developers when they commit code, they're committing against a specific story. So for us being a bank with our levels of being audited, etc., we're able to show the lineage of a code commit all the way from its initial planning phase all the way through to the commit. And the governance on that is something that our auditors really appreciate.
Mm.
So, I think overall, the overall comment is these guys have really thought the solution through end to end. And you have a need, you think about it, you're going to go search the documentation or you're going to log a ticket with support, and chances are they've got a solution for you. And you just need to implement it. Yeah.
Okay. And you earlier you mentioned obviously you had a frustration with the Mendix cloud and which is now resolved. Is there any kind of other frustrations or things that the platform currently doesn't offer that
Mm.
you'd like to see in the future?
Yeah. Yeah, the big one, and my friends at Mendix, when they hear this, I'm sure it's not
Not
familiar.
again.
Yeah, not again. But the big one for us is currently on the Mendix mobile side, it doesn't support the Huawei app gallery, right? So it builds for Android Play Store, it builds for iOS, doesn't build for Huawei app gallery. I think in perhaps in Europe and America, where the bulk of Mendix customers are, that may not be so much of a problem.
Yeah.
But in Africa, where Huawei has a large market share, and
Mm,
certainly in South Africa, that is a significant challenge. And we're having to find ways of working around that and side load the app to get our Huawei users on board. But it's not a good experience a lot of the time, and it's a big pain point. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. And they're obviously aware of it, so
they
they're
are.
probably trying to sort it out. And
Yeah,
it's something that for a while now, the hottest topic is AI. And
yeah.
it's in every conversation. Is the business currently leveraging AI, or if so, how? And if not, is there any plans to kind of get that
Yeah.
involved in your project?
Yeah. So true to the low code spirit, I've discovered a low code platform for building generative AI solutions.
Okay.
And yeah, we've built two knowledge bots, right? So two areas of our business that are very knowledge intensive. One is around KYC compliance, regulatory compliance, where there's a lot of regulation, there's a lot of policy, and very often people out in the field need to be able to quickly get an answer about what do I do if, for example, I'm onboarding a trust and the owner is an overseas resident, for example, or
Mm,
the beneficiaries are all under 16, what's the documents required? And they don't have the time to really go and page through a 300-page policy and
mm,
figure out the answer. So we built a Gen AI bot to help and assist with that. And the bot is able to say, hey, okay, for this you need that. And it's even able to give them references about where it's finding the information so they can fact check it, make sure there's no hallucinations. The other place that we built a bot for is around our credit policy. So again, our credit vetting manual is a couple of hundred pages, and our credit vetting agents need something to refer back to. So we've stood up a bot to help them with that. Um, and then on top of that, we also just recently decided to run a pilot with ChatGPT team, and we are rolling out licenses to a select group within the company. And we are trying to establish, I think we're giving ourselves a 3-month window to see what are the productivity gains, what are the use cases people come up with, and then we look at how we're going to scale that.
okay. And what's this AI tool that you're using?
GPT trainer.
GPT Trainer. Okay. And that's a low code
Yeah,
tool as well.
yeah,
Oh, nice. Okay. And for someone who, now you've adopted low code in many ways in the business,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and one thing that I think is always there's skeptics on the developer side, and then there's skeptics on the business side, CIO, CEOs saying, low code cannot give us what we're looking
Yeah.
for our projects, and especially with the B2C side of things. What would be your message to those who still think that, these the main two big ones definitely, um, can do for their business?
Yeah. Look, I can't talk about out systems too much
Yeah,
because we stopped at the evaluation side. But
yeah,
on the Mendix side, uh, I would definitely say that on the B2C side, Mendix is capable of meeting all the requirements, at least of a fully featured banking app. And banking apps are quite complex to build. They are heavily integrated with multiple backend systems, especially in our case, for example, where I spoke earlier about giving you a single view of so many
yeah.
different products. That's only achievable because we're able to integrate into so many different backend systems. So there's no shortcoming there from an integration perspective, which is often what people are skeptical of. The other is from a UI perspective. People sometimes think that, okay, with low code, because because you have templates and because it's drag and drop,
Mm,
you're probably a little bit boxed in and you can't, craft the experiences that you want. But that's not really the case with Mendix. I think the Mendix R&D team or the product team were very good at giving you all of those templates, but also then still keeping the door open to extensibility using different UI styling tools. There's no limitation, really. It gives you as much freedom as working in a normal React Native app would give you, for example. So yeah,
amazing,
my message to them is I haven't at least encountered any limitation from using Mendix.
amazing. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and speaking to me and sharing, about the project, frustrations, things you've liked and, really helped. That's what's helped your business. And I think definitely it'd probably be good to speak again in the future and see how far you've come along with the low code journey and what else you've built within the bank.
Yeah, thanks, Feroz. It's been a real pleasure talking with you, and definitely look forward to connecting again sometime in the future.
Amazing. Thanks, Hamza.
Thank you. Keep
Take
well.
care. You
Assalamu
too.
alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for listening to today's episode, which is brought to you by iTrack. We are a leading staffing firm that solely specializes in supplying both contract and permanent low-code professionals to organizations globally. Navigating the niche landscape of the low-code market requires the best talent, and we recognize its critical importance for our clients. Whether you're a company looking to strengthen your team, an individual seeking the next career move, or someone entirely new to the world of low-code, we're here for you. Our extensive experience and in-depth market knowledge enables us to quickly pinpoint the ideal candidates while offering expert advice and support at every stage of your low-code journey. Reach out to us through our website or connect with me directly on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to assist you. Thank you once again for joining us today. We'll be back next week with another insightful episode. Until then, take care.